When my daughter smiled and said she had a surprise for me, I thought it was something heartwarming. Maybe a gift, maybe good news about her life. But when she handed me an envelope, my hands trembled. Inside wasn't joy, but a crushing $400,000 debt she expected me to pay. At that moment, my world flipped upside down, and what followed shattered our relationship forever. Before we dive into this shocking story, let me ask you something. What would you do if someone you trusted tried to destroy your family's future right in front of your eyes? Stay with me till the very end, because this isn't just a story, it's a fight for survival, dignity, and justice. And trust me, the ending will leave you speechless. When my daughter Emily walked into the room that evening, her eyes sparkled with excitement. She clutched an envelope in her hands, holding it the way a child might hold a carefully wrapped gift. "Dad," she said, her voice bubbling with energy, "I have a surprise for you." I smiled without hesitation. Emily was my only daughter, my pride and joy. She had just turned 26, and though she had made her share of mistakes in life, I always believed she was finding her way. I expected she would tell me she'd landed a new job, gotten engaged, or maybe had finally paid off some of her student loans. "All right," I said warmly. "Let's see what this surprise is." She handed me the envelope, and for a moment I just looked at it. It was thick, stuffed with papers. My heart beat a little faster, but I brushed away the unease. A father always wants to believe the best about his child. I tore it open, pulling out the documents inside. My eyes scanned the words, and instantly my stomach twisted into knots. At first the numbers didn't make sense. Line after line of credit card balances, unpaid loans and overdue notices. But then, like a dagger to the heart, the total stared back at me. $400,000, my hands trembled. What is this?" I whispered. Emily's smile faltered, but only slightly. "It's my debt," she said softly. "And now it's yours." Her words hit me like a physical blow. I blinked at her, hoping I had misunderstood. "What do you mean it's mine?" "I mean," she said firmly, "you're going to help me pay it off. You've always taken care of me, and now I need you more than ever. You can't just let me drown in this." "You're my father." The room suddenly felt colder. My mind spun as I tried to piece together how my daughter, the girl I had raised with love and sacrifice, could casually hand me a financial death sentence. $400,000 wasn't just money. It was my retirement, my future security, everything I had worked for over decades. And the way she looked at me, so expectant, so certain, made it clear this wasn't a plea. It was a demand. That night was the beginning of a storm I never thought I'd face, one that would force me to question the bond between a father and daughter, and make choices I never imagined I'd have to make. I sat there frozen, the papers still in my hands. My throat felt dry and my heart pounded so loudly I could barely hear her words. "Emily, $400,000, I muttered, my voice shaky. "How in the world did you let it get this far?" She crossed her arms, her confidence startling me. "It's not that bad, Dad. People take loans all the time. Credit cards, student loans, car payments, it's just life. I just may have overspent. But you have savings, right? Your retirement account, the house, maybe even your pension. You can cover this." The casual way she spoke made my stomach churn. It was as though she thought I was her safety net, an endless well of money that would never run dry. I stared at her, trying to process everything. Memories of her teenage years came flooding back, how she always wanted the newest phone, the trendiest clothes, the parties that cost me more than I could afford. I remembered thinking, she'll grow out of it. She'll mature, she'll learn responsibility. But now, staring at this mountain of debt, I realized she hadn't grown out of it at all. She had grown into it. "Emily," I said carefully, "this isn't a small mistake. This isn't just a few bills. This is $400,000. Do you even realize what you've done?" Her eyes flickered with irritation. "Don't make this a big drama, Dad. You always do this, overreact. Look, I know you've got the money. You worked your whole life. You don't even spend it. What's the point of saving all that if you're not going to use it for family?" Her words cut deep, sharper than I expected. I had worked every day of my life for decades, sacrificing vacations, hobbies, even my health at times, just to build a stable future. I thought I was setting an example of discipline, of perseverance. But standing in front of me was my daughter, who had twisted that sacrifice into entitlement. For the first time, I didn't recognize her. "Emily," I said, my voice firm now. I cannot just write a check for this. And even if I could, this isn't about money. It's about choices. What happened here? How did you even rack up this kind of debt? Her expression softened for a moment, and she sat down across from me. It started small, she admitted. A little shopping, some trips with friends. Then I got into real estate investing with a couple of people I trusted, but the deals went south. After that, I tried to cover it with more loans, and it just spiraled. I rubbed my temples, a wave of dread washing over me. She wasn't just careless, she had been reckless. And now she was dragging me down with her. "Dad, please," she whispered suddenly, her tone shifting. "If you don't help me, I'll lose everything. They'll come after me. I don't know what they'll do." Her desperation was real, but so was my fear. Because if I stepped into this mess, I wouldn't just be saving her, I'd be sacrificing myself. That night, as I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, I realized the truth. This wasn't just a debt. It was a test of how far a parent's love could stretch before it finally broke. The next morning, I woke up with a heaviness in my chest. The envelope still sat on the kitchen table, mocking me with its bold numbers and red warning stamps. I picked it up again, scanning the pages as if somehow the total would change. But no, it still screamed back at me, $400,000. I thought about all the years I had worked, sweating in factories, working late nights, skipping family outings just to save a little more. I'd always told myself it was for Emily's future. I thought she'd be grateful, that she'd one day understand sacrifice, but now she was looking at me like an ATM, not a father. Later that day, I tried to talk to her again. "Emily," I said, keeping my voice calm, "do you understand that if I take this debt, I lose everything? My retirement, my house, my freedom? I'll be working until the day I die." She rolled her eyes, tapping her phone like she wasn't even listening. "Dad, stop being dramatic. You'll still have enough to live on. You own this house, you've got savings. People your age downsize all the time. Sell the place, move into a smaller apartment. It's not a big deal." Her words hit me harder than any scream could have. My home, the place where I had raised her, where her mother and I had built a life, she wanted me to throw it away like it meant nothing. "Do you even hear yourself?" I asked, anger finally cracking through my voice. "This is not just about money. It's about respect, about responsibility. You can't just hand me your mistakes and expect me to erase them." For a moment, she looked almost guilty, but then her face hardened. "Dad, you owe me this. You raised me to believe you'd always protect me. Well, this is me needing protection. If you don't help me, you're not just failing me, you're abandoning me." The manipulation stung. It wasn't the first time she'd tried to guilt me into giving her what she wanted. But this time it felt different, colder, sharper. That evening I called my old friend Martin, a retired lawyer, who had always been like an older brother to me. I explained everything. He was silent for a moment, then said, "John, you need to be careful. This isn't just about debt. If she's in this deep, there might be people involved who won't stop at harassing her. They'll come after you too. You need to think about whether this is really your responsibility, or if she's made choices that you can't afford to clean up." His words shook me. I had always believed that as a father, I was supposed to fix everything. But maybe I couldn't. That night, Emily knocked on my door again. She stood there, her face pale, her eyes a little wild. "Dad," she whispered, "you don't understand. If we don't pay them soon, things will get bad. Really bad." Her tone was different, less arrogant, more fearful. And that was when I realized this wasn't just about reckless spending. Something darker was hiding behind that. Emily's words echoed in my head, long after she had gone back to her room. "If we don't pay them soon, things will get bad." Really bad. It wasn't just the debt anymore, it was who the debt was tied to. The next morning I decided to dig deeper. While Emily was out, I carefully looked through the rest of the envelope she had given me. Buried among the overdue notices and credit statements were documents from lenders I didn't recognize, names that sounded more like private sharks than banks. The kind of people who didn't send polite reminders in the mail, but threats whispered in the dark. One paper in particular caught my eye. It wasn't an official loan statement. It was a handwritten IOU signed by Emily. The amount, $50,000. No company letterhead, no bank stamp. Just a first name and a phone number scribbled across the bottom. My heart sank. When Emily returned home, I confronted her. "Who is this?" I demanded, holding up the paper. Her face went pale. "Dad, don't call that number. Just don't. Emily, answer me," I snapped, my voice louder than I intended. "Who are you involved with?" She broke down, tears spilling from her eyes. I didn't know what else to do. After the real estate deal collapsed, I met someone who said they could help. They promised quick money, easy repayment. I thought I could handle it, but it kept snowballing. And when I couldn't keep up, they started threatening me. I felt the ground shift beneath my feet. This wasn't just irresponsibility, it was danger. Real, tangible danger that could knock on our door any moment. "Emily," I said, my voice trembling, "you've put us both at risk. Do you understand? These people won't just walk away if we can't pay." She sobbed harder, whispering, "That's why I came to you. I knew you'd protect me. You always do." For a long moment I stood there in silence, staring at my daughter. My little girl who once ran to me after nightmares, who used to believe I could fix anything. Now she was older, but the fear in her eyes was the same. Only this time the monster wasn't under her bed. It was at our doorstep. That night, I couldn't sleep. My mind raced with impossible questions. Could I pay the debt and save her, even if it meant losing everything I had built? Or was it time to let her face the consequences of her choices? As the clock ticked past midnight, I realized something chilling. No matter what I chose, life would never be the same again, and with that thought, the stage was set for the storm to break. The moment I opened the envelope, I felt my chest tighten. $400,000. The number was so large that it almost didn't feel real. My daughter, Emily, sat across from me with her hands folded tightly in her lap, as if bracing herself for my reaction. For a few seconds, the room was dead silent. Only the hum of the refrigerator filled the space. My eyes scanned the document again and again, hoping I had misread it, but the cruel truth stared right back at me in bold black ink. "Emily," I whispered, my voice breaking, "what is this?" Her lips trembled. "Dad, I didn't know how else to tell you. I've been hiding it. I didn't want to disappoint you." I slammed the papers onto the table. "Hiding it? $400,000 in debt isn't something you hide, Emily. How could you let it get this far?" Tears welled in her eyes. "I thought I could manage it. I thought the business would work out. I thought the loans would pay off, but..." I cut her off, my frustration boiling. "Business? Loans? Emily, you've risked not just your future, but mine as well. Do you even realize what this means for us?" Her sobs echoed through the kitchen. She looked so small, so fragile, as though she were a child again confessing to breaking something precious. But this wasn't a broken vase. This was $400,000, a weight that could crush our entire family. My mind spiraled into chaos. I thought about the retirement I had carefully planned, the years of saving and sacrificing, the dreams of living out my last days peacefully. All of it was now in jeopardy. Every sacrifice I had made for Emily, every sleepless night working overtime so she could have a better life. Was this the result? I pressed my palms against my temples. "Emily, why didn't you come to me earlier? Why wait until the damage was irreversible?" Her voice cracked. "Because I didn't want you to see me as a failure. I wanted you to be proud of me." Those words hit me harder than any number on a piece of paper. My anger collided with guilt, confusion, and sorrow. She wasn't just reckless. She was desperate to prove herself. But now both of us were standing at the edge of a cliff, and the ground beneath us was crumbling. For the first time, I didn't know if I could catch her. I leaned back in my chair, staring at the ceiling as if the answers might appear there. The weight of the envelope sat heavy on the table, like a loaded weapon aimed at both of us. I had raised Emily to be responsible, to make wise decisions. And yet here she was, drowning in debt that she had kept secret until it had grown into a monster neither of us could ignore. "Tell me everything," I finally said, my voice low but sharp. "No more secrets, Emily. Every loan, every credit card, every dollar. You tell me now." Her hands shook as she pulled out her phone, scrolling through notes and emails. She started listing names of banks, private lenders, and even individuals. With each name, the pit in my stomach grew deeper. "How could you borrow from people like that?" I asked, horrified. "Some of these aren't even legal lenders. Do you know the kind of people you're in debt to?" She wiped her tears. I didn't have a choice. When the bank stopped approving me, I panicked. I thought if I could just get one more chance, the cafe would turn around. The cafe. That cursed cafe. I had warned her from the beginning that pouring all her savings, and worse borrowed money, into a business without proper planning was a dangerous gamble. But Emily had always been stubborn, always eager to prove she could do something on her own. And now the dream she clung to had turned into a nightmare we both had to face. "Emily," I said, trying to steady my voice, "you don't just owe money. You owe people who can destroy your life if you don't pay them back. Do you understand the danger you've put yourself in?" Her silence was answer enough. I thought of her mother, my late wife. She had always believed Emily would do something remarkable. She had been so proud of her. I felt a sharp sting in my chest, thinking of how she wasn't here to see this collapse. Maybe she would have softened the blow, comforted Emily where I only brought anger. But all I could think about was betrayal. Emily had looked me in the eye countless times over the last year, acting as if nothing was wrong. "You've lied to me every day," I said, my voice trembling with restrained fury. "Do you know what that does to a father? To watch his daughter smile at dinner, to hear her say everything's fine, when all along she's sinking deeper into a hole she can't climb out of." Her sobbing grew louder, but my anger didn't ease. If anything, it twisted tighter inside me. I stood up, pacing the kitchen. The floor creaked beneath me, each step echoing the storm in my head. $400,000, Emily. Do you have any idea how long it will take to pay that back? Do you realize what you've done to us? Finally, she whispered through her tears, "I was going to sell the house." I froze mid-step, my fists clenched at my sides. "Well, what did you just say?" "I thought, if it got bad enough, I could sell the house. It's in your name, but I thought maybe I could convince you. Or do it somehow." The words pierced me like knives. This wasn't just reckless, it was dangerous. My home, the place filled with memories of my wife, my sanctuary, was something she had considered putting on the line without even asking me. I looked at her, and for the room grew so quiet that I could hear the faint ticking of the clock on the wall. Her words echoed in my head like gunshots. I was going to sell the house. That house wasn't just wood and bricks. It was my life's work, my wife's laughter echoing in the halls, the place where Emily took her first steps, where every corner held a memory. And she had thought of using it as a bargaining chip to cover the consequences of her secret debts. I turned to face her slowly, my jaw tight. "Emily, this house is not just a building. It's your mother's memory. It's our family's heart. And you thought you could risk it all, without even telling me?" Her face went pale. She didn't answer, only stared down at the table as though she wished it would swallow her whole. "I can't believe this," I muttered, pressing my hand against my forehead. "The debt was bad enough, but this is betrayal." Her eyes filled with panic. "Dad, please." I wasn't going to do it right away. It was just a thought, a last resort. I didn't know what else to do. I slammed my fist against the table, the sound making her flinch. "You always had another option, Emily. You had me. You had family. Instead, you lied, you hid everything, and now you're talking about destroying the only thing I have left of your mother." The silence after my outburst was suffocating. Emily cried quietly, but I had no words of comfort left to give. My heart was breaking, but my anger burned hotter than my sorrow. I walked to the window and stared out into the night. The yard looked so peaceful, our old oak tree standing tall, the soft glow of the porch light spilling across the grass. It felt surreal that inside our world was falling apart. Then came her voice, soft but trembling. "Dad, there's something else." My body stiffened. I turned back to her slowly, dread pooling in my stomach. "Something else? What more could there possibly be?" She hesitated, biting her lip, her hands clutching at the edges of the envelope as if it could shield her from what she was about to confess. "The lenders, some of them. They're not patient people. They've been coming by the cafe. One of them threatened me." The air left my lungs. "Threatened?" I strode across the room and grabbed her by the shoulders. "Emily, what do you mean, threatened?" "What did they say? Did they hurt you?" Tears streamed down her face. "Not yet. But they said if I don't pay something soon, they'll make sure I regret it." "Dad, I'm scared." Her words hit me harder than any debt figure. My daughter wasn't just in financial trouble. She was in danger. Real danger. The kind of danger you don't get a second chance from. I felt my protective instincts roar to life, but at the same time I was furious. furious at her recklessness, furious that she had dragged us into this mess, furious that she had gambled with her safety, and by extension mine. I gripped her shoulders tighter, forcing her to look me in the eyes. Emily, you should have told me the moment this started. Hiding it was the worst mistake you could have made. You put your life at risk, and you almost put this family's future in the ground. Do you understand? She nodded through sobs, but the damage was already done. For the first time in my life, I felt something terrifying. I wasn't sure if I could trust my own daughter anymore. The night stretched on endlessly. I couldn't sleep. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw Emily's terrified face, the numbers from the debt papers burning like fire in my mind, and the shadow of faceless men who now knew my daughter's name. At around 2 a.m., I sat alone at the kitchen table with a cup of cold coffee. My hands shook as I reread the documents again, hoping some miracle clause would erase it all. But no, it was all too real. $400,000. A mountain so high I couldn't even see the peak. Emily's footsteps broke the silence. She crept into the kitchen, her eyes red and swollen from crying. "Dad," she whispered, "I can't sleep." I sighed, gesturing for her to sit. She slid into the chair across from me, hugging her knees to her chest like a frightened child. For a moment, neither of us spoke. The weight of the unspoken was heavier than any words. Finally, she broke the silence. "Do you hate me now?" Her question cut me deeper than anything she had confessed. Hate her? No, but I couldn't lie to myself. I was drowning in disappointment, fear, and betrayal. "Emily," I said slowly, "I don't hate you, but I don't recognize you right now. This isn't the daughter I raised. This isn't the girl your mother believed in." Her face crumpled and tears streamed down again. "I'm sorry, Dad, I thought I was strong enough. I thought I could handle it. But I've ruined everything, haven't I?" I clenched my jaw. "Not everything, not yet. But you've lit a fire that might burn us all if we don't find a way out." She sniffled, then slid something across the table. It was her phone. The screen lit up with a string of messages. Unknown numbers, harsh words, veiled threats. My blood turned to ice as I scrolled through them. Tick-tock. "Time's running out. Pay what you owe or we'll take what we're owed another way. You don't want us knocking on Daddy's door." I gripped the phone so hard my knuckles turned white. "They know about me?" I asked, my voice low. Emily nodded. "I think so." "One of them mentioned you by name." Rage surged through me, hotter than anything I had felt in years. They wanted to scare her. Threaten me. They had no idea who they were dealing with. I might have been old, but I wasn't weak. And I sure as hell wasn't going to let anyone hurt my daughter. But underneath the anger, I felt something else. Dread. This was no longer just about numbers on a page. This was about survival. I leaned across the table and spoke firmly. "Emily, listen to me. No more secrets, no more lies. From this moment on, I need the full truth about everything. Who you borrowed from, what deals you made, everything. If you hide even one more thing, we're finished. Do you understand?" She nodded furiously, wiping her tears. "I swear, Dad, I'll tell you everything." And for the first time that night, I saw a flicker of the little girl I had raised, the one who still needed her father's protection, even if she had lost her way. But deep down, I knew this was only the beginning. The debts, the threats, the lies, it was all building to something bigger, something dangerous. And as much as I wanted to protect Emily, I had a sickening feeling that this storm would destroy us before we ever saw the sun again. The climax was waiting for us, and there was no turning back. The next morning, I woke up to the sound of my phone buzzing violently on the nightstand. For a second, I thought it was just another spam call, but when I looked at the screen, my heart stopped. Unknown number. I hesitated before answering, my thumb hovering over the green icon. My gut screamed at me not to pick up, but something colder, curiosity, dread, duty, pushed me forward. "Hello?" I said cautiously. A low, raspy voice filled the line. "Is this Mr. Collins?" "Yes," I replied slowly. "Good," the voice said. "Your daughter owes us. 400,000. Time's up." I sat straight up in bed, my grip tightening around the phone. "Who is this? You don't call someone's father in the middle of the night and make demands. If you've got a problem, you deal with her, not me." The man laughed darkly. "She made it your problem the moment she couldn't pay. Debt doesn't vanish, Mr. Collins, it moves. And now it's sitting right on your doorstep." I froze, my eyes darting to the window, as if expecting to see someone watching. If you touch my daughter— Oh, don't worry, the voice interrupted. We don't want to hurt her yet, but you've got something valuable we want. That house you love so much. Sign it over, and maybe we'll consider the debt forgiven. My chest tightened, fury flooding my veins. You think you can threaten me into giving up my home? My wife's memory. You're out of your damn mind. The line went quiet for a beat. Then came a chilling whisper. Then we'll just have to take it ourselves. The call ended. I sat there, the silence of the room pressing down like a weight. My pulse pounded in my ears, my mind racing with images of strangers at my door, of Emily being dragged into something she couldn't escape. I wanted to scream, to smash the phone against the wall, but I forced myself to stay calm. Emily stumbled into the room a few minutes later, her eyes swollen from lack of sleep. Dad, what happened? I heard you shouting. I handed her the phone with shaking hands. They called. They know everything. They're coming after the house. Her face went pale, her body trembling. No, I never wanted it to get this far. Dad, what do we do? I gritted my teeth, forcing myself to think clearly. First, you tell me everything. Every loan, every name, every deal you made. No more secrets. She nodded quickly, pulling out a folder she had hidden in her bag. She laid it on the bed and I flipped through it. Dozens of loan contracts, payment demands, and scribbled notes. Some from official lenders, but many from names I didn't recognize. Unregistered, underground, dangerous. One name kept showing up again and again. Marcus Hale. I had heard of him before. A loan shark with a reputation for ruining lives. Ruthless, untouchable. The kind of man you didn't cross unless you had a death wish. Emily, I said slowly, staring at the name. Do you have any idea what kind of man you've gotten involved with? Her silence was answer enough. The weight of it all crashed down on me. This wasn't just about money anymore. It was about survival, about protecting my daughter from wolves circling closer every day. I stood, determination burning in my chest. If Marcus Hale thinks he can threaten this family, he's got another thing coming. I'm not giving him our home, and I'm not letting him destroy what's left of this family. Do you hear me? Emily wiped her tears, but her eyes betrayed the same fear gnawing at my gut. Marcus Hale wasn't the kind of man who let people walk away, and we were already in too deep. The following days felt like living in a nightmare. Every time the phone rang, Emily jumped. Every knock at the door sent my heart racing. The shadow of Marcus Hale and his men stretched over our lives, choking us with fear. I tried to keep things normal, making breakfast, mowing the lawn, reading the paper, but beneath every ordinary moment lurked the same truth. We were living on borrowed time. On the third day, that truth arrived on my doorstep. I was in the living room when headlights flashed through the blinds. A sleek black car pulled up outside. Two men stepped out, both dressed in sharp suits that didn't match their hard, dangerous eyes. My stomach dropped. Emily appeared in the hallway, her voice trembling. Dad, they're here. I pressed a finger to my lips, signaling her to stay quiet, but it was too late. A heavy knock shook the door. Mr. Collins, a voice called out smoothly. We'd like a word. I opened the door a crack, my body blocking the entry. What do you want? The taller man smiled coldly. Marcus Hale sent us. We're here to remind you that debts don't disappear. Your daughter made promises. Promises she hasn't kept. My grip tightened on the door. I told your boss we're not giving up the house. The man's smile widened, but it didn't reach his eyes. That's unfortunate, because Mr. Hale doesn't like to be kept waiting. He sent us to collect, and if you can't give us money, he'll accept something else. Behind me, Emily gasped. I didn't turn around. I kept my eyes locked on them, forcing my voice to stay calm. You're not taking anything from this house. Not tonight. Not ever. The second man stepped forward, his voice colder. We're not asking, Mr. Collins. We'll be back tomorrow. With papers. Sign the deed over or things get unpleasant. They turned and walked back to the car, leaving the scent of cigarette smoke and menace behind them. The engine roared to life, and the car disappeared into the night. The moment the door clicked shut, Emily collapsed into sobs. Dad, this is my fault. I've ruined everything. I don't know what to do anymore. I pulled her into my arms, my own chest tight with fear. Listen to me, Emily. They want us scared. They want us broken. But we're not going to give them the satisfaction. Do you understand? She nodded weakly, but I could see the terror in her eyes. That night I sat awake at the kitchen table again, staring at the folder of contracts. I wasn't just a father anymore. I was a man standing between his family and the wolves at the door. As the wolves weren't going away, I thought of calling the police, but what could I tell them? That my daughter owed money to a loan shark. That dangerous man had threatened us. Unless something happened, there was nothing they could do. And even if they did get involved, Marcus Hale's reach was long. Too long. No, this wasn't something the law could fix. This was something I had to fix myself. I clenched my fists, a plan beginning to form in my mind. I had spent my whole life protecting my family from the world. Now I would have to protect them from the mistakes of one of our own. But deep down, I knew one truth I couldn't escape. This fight might cost me everything, and still, I had no choice. The next morning felt heavier than the last. I didn't even bother opening the blinds. The house that once felt like a sanctuary now felt like a cage, one Marcus Hale could break into whenever he wanted. Emily sat at the kitchen table, clutching a mug of coffee with shaking hands. Her face was pale, her eyes sunken from another sleepless night. She looked at me as if searching for some sign that I had a plan, something to hold on to. "Dad," she whispered, "what are we going to do?" I paused, then spoke firmly. "We're not handing over this house. If Marcus wants it, he'll have to fight me for it. But first, we're going to see him." Her eyes widened in shock. "What? No! You can't. He's dangerous." "Exactly," I cut her off. "Dangerous men need to know you're not afraid. If we keep waiting for him to strike, we'll lose everything. I won't sit here like prey waiting for the predator to pounce." Emily shook her head violently. "He'll destroy you. He'll destroy us both." I leaned forward, locking eyes with her. "If I do nothing, he already has." Silence fell between us, broken only by the ticking clock on the wall. Finally, Emily dropped her gaze, tears rolling down her cheeks. "Then I'm coming with you." "No," I said sharply. "You're not. You've already risked enough. This is my fight now." But she wouldn't back down. "It's my debt, Dad, my mistake. I won't let you face him alone." Her voice cracked, but the determination in her eyes was unshakable, and for the first time I realized that maybe this was the lesson she needed to learn, that actions had consequences, and she had to stand in the fire she had lit. Later that day, we drove across town. The address we had for Marcus Hale was written on one of the loan papers, and it led us to an old run-down office building on the edge of the city. The windows were tinted, the paint peeling, and the parking lot empty except for a few expensive cars. I parked, turned off the engine, and sat in silence for a moment. Emily's hand gripped mine, trembling. "Dad, maybe we should leave." "Maybe—" "No," I said, my voice steady. "Won't we go in? We end this." Inside, the air was thick with smoke and tension. A receptionist with dead eyes looked up briefly before waving us toward a back office. It was clear we weren't the first desperate souls to walk through those doors. We stepped inside, and there he was, Marcus Hale. He was younger than I expected, maybe mid-40s, dressed in an expensive suit that couldn't hide the cruelty in his smile. His dark eyes fixed on Emily, then slid to me. "Well, well," he said smoothly. "The prodigal daughter and her dear father. To what do I owe this honor?" My fists clenched, but I forced myself to keep calm. "We're here to talk about the debt." Marcus leaned back in his chair, steepling his fingers. "Ah, yes, 400,000. Quite a number, isn't it? Your daughter was very ambitious. But ambition without sense is dangerous." Emily flinched at his words, and I stepped forward. "You've had your fun scaring her. Now it ends. You're not getting the house." Marcus chuckled, shaking his head slowly. "Brave, stupid but brave. Do you know how many people have told me that, Mr. Collins? Do you know how many of them are still standing?" I met his gaze without flinching. "I don't care about the others. I care about my family. And I won't let you take what's mine." The room went quiet. Marcus studied me for a long moment, his smile fading into something darker. Then he leaned forward, his voice low and dangerous. "Then you'd better be ready to lose more than money." Emily gasped, grabbing my arm, but I didn't move. My eyes locked with his, and for the first time I saw the true monster my daughter had unleashed. And I knew this fight was only beginning. The office air was suffocating. Emily clung to my sleeve, her nails digging into the fabric as Marcus Hale's words hung in the silence. Be ready to lose more than money. I forced myself to take a step closer to his desk, refusing to let fear show. You think you can intimidate me with threats? I've lived through worse storms than you. You don't scare me, Marcus, he smirked, rising from his chair with deliberate slowness. Standing face to face, I realized just how tall he was, his presence filling the room like a shadow. Old man, he said quietly, you don't understand the game you've walked into. This isn't about fear, it's about control. And right now I own your daughter's future. I own your peace. And unless you pay, I'll own your past too. Starting with that little house you love so much. My jaw tightened. Over my dead body, Marcus's smile returned, sharp as a knife. That can be arranged. The sound of movement came from behind us. I turned just enough to see two men step into the room, broad-shouldered, eyes cold, each one carrying the weight of violence in their posture. Emily gasped, clutching my arm tighter. Marcus circled around us like a predator toying with prey. I'll see, Mr. Collins, I don't need your permission. You came here thinking you could negotiate, that your words mattered. But you have nothing I want, except leverage. He reached out suddenly, his hand brushing against Emily's chin. She recoiled instantly, her breath catching in fear. My blood boiled. Don't you touch her! I roared, shoving his hand away. The room erupted in tension. His men stepped forward, fists tightening, ready to act. I moved instinctively, placing myself between them and my daughter. My heart pounded, but my voice was steady. If you lay a finger on her, Marcus, I swear to God I'll take you down with me. For a moment the air froze. Marcus studied me, his head tilted, almost amused. Then he laughed, a deep, cruel sound. You've got fire, old man. I'll give you that. But fire without fuel burns out fast. Emily's voice broke through, trembling but desperate. Please, please, I'll pay. I'll figure it out, I'll work, Marcus raised a hand, silencing her. Too late for that. The clock has run out. Tomorrow night I want the deed to your house on my desk. No excuses, no delays, or... He snapped his fingers, and one of his men pulled out a phone, flashing a photo of our house, taken just that morning. Thus you'll find out what happens when people waste my time. Emily's knees buckled and I held her up. My chest tightened with rage and helplessness. He wasn't bluffing. He had eyes on us, on our home, on everything. I dragged in a breath, forcing myself to hold his gaze. You may think you've already won, Marcus. But you've underestimated one thing. He raised an eyebrow, mocking. And what's that? I leaned forward, my voice low and cold. Fair father who has nothing left to lose. For the first time his smirk faltered. Just for a second, but it was enough. I pulled Emily toward the door, not daring to look back. His laughter followed us, echoing like a promise of destruction. As we stepped into the harsh sunlight outside, Emily clutched my arm, whispering through tears. Dad, what are we going to do? I didn't answer right away. My mind was already turning, already calculating. One thing was clear, tomorrow night would decide everything. Either we gave up the house, or we fought a war we might not survive, and I was ready for war. The drive home was silent except for the rattling of my old truck. Emily stared out the window, her face pale and her hands trembling in her lap. The image of Marcus's smug grin lingered in my mind, like a stain that wouldn't wash away. Every word he said felt like poison, spreading into every corner of our lives. When we finally pulled into the driveway, Emily broke the silence. Dad, we can't fight him. He's too powerful. You saw what he can do. I turned off the engine and looked at her, my voice steady but firm. Emily, power isn't about the size of the enemy, it's about the size of the fight in you. And I refuse to let that man destroy us. Tears welled up in her eyes. But what if he comes after the house? What if he hurts us? I reached over, squeezing her hand. Then we fight smart. Marcus may have money and men, but he underestimates people like us. He thinks we're weak. That's his first mistake. Inside the house, I pulled out an old wooden box from the closet, a box I hadn't touched in years. Emily watched as I unlocked it, revealing a collection of worn notebooks, old documents, and a few photographs. What's that? She asked, confused. This, I said with a small smile, is the past he doesn't think I have. Inside those notebooks were years of records from the time I worked in construction and real estate, including shady dealings I'd witnessed, people like Marcus who cut corners, cheated families, and laundered money. Back then I stayed silent, too afraid of losing my job. But I had kept notes, every detail, every transaction, every whispered conversation. Emily leaned closer, her eyes wide. "You mean, you have something on him?" I nodded. "Not just him, men like him. And if Marcus is half as greedy as I think he is, he's connected to all of it. These notes could expose him." Her eyes lit up with hope, but also fear. "But, Dad, if you use this, won't he come after us even harder?" "He already has," I said grimly. "The difference is now we don't just defend, we strike back." For the first time since the nightmare began, I saw a flicker of determination in her eyes. She wiped her tears and nodded. "Okay, then what do we do first?" I leaned back in my chair, staring at the box. "We build allies. No war is won alone." That night I called an old friend, Detective Harris, a man I hadn't spoken to in over a decade. He owed me a favor from long ago, and if anyone could verify the evidence in my notebooks, it was him. The phone rang 3 times before his tired voice answered. "Collins? Haven't heard that name in years. What's this about?" "It's about Marcus Hale," I said simply. The line went quiet. Then a low whistle. "You're stepping into dangerous waters, old friend. That man doesn't just play dirty, he owns the whole damn game." "Maybe," I replied, "but I've got something that could tip the board." When I explained, his tone shifted. "If what you're saying is true, this could take him down." "But Collins, this won't just be dangerous, it'll be war." "I know," I said, "and I'm ready." As I hung up, I caught Emily watching me, her face torn between fear and admiration. For the first time I felt like I wasn't just fighting for survival, I was fighting for redemption. For all the years I stayed silent, while men like Marcus crushed people under their boots. I placed a hand on Emily's shoulder. "Tomorrow night isn't just about saving the house. It's about ending Marcus Hale once and for all." She nodded slowly, her lips trembling but her eyes burning with resolve. The fear was still there, but now, so was the fire, and I knew. We were no longer just victims of Marcus's threats. We were the storm coming for him. The next morning I woke up before dawn. Sleep had been impossible. Every creak in the house, every shadow on the wall made me think Marcus was already outside, waiting to pounce. But instead of fear holding me down, it pushed me forward. I brewed a pot of coffee and sat at the table with the old notebook spread before me. The pages were yellowed, ink fading in some spots, but the details were still sharp enough to cut through lies. Dates, times, transactions, names of contractors who had gone bankrupt because of men like Marcus, deals that smelled of bribes, projects where safety codes were ignored to line pockets. Emily joined me, still in her pajamas, her hair messy but her eyes alert. "You didn't sleep, did you?" she asked. I shook my head. "Didn't need to. We don't have time to waste." She sat down beside me and flipped through one of the notebooks. "Dad, this is incredible. Why didn't you ever go to the police with this?" "Because back then I didn't have the guts," I admitted. I kept telling myself it wasn't my problem, that speaking out would cost me everything. But now with Marcus threatening us, I realized staying silent was the real mistake. Emily touched my arm gently. "Then let's make it right." Her words gave me strength. For the first time, she wasn't the scared daughter leaning on me. She was standing with me. That afternoon, we met Detective Harris in a quiet diner on the edge of town. The man looked older, his hair grayer, but his eyes were still sharp. He studied the notebooks for a long while, his brow furrowed in concentration. "This is damning," he finally said, tapping one page. "If we can connect Marcus directly to these deals, he's finished." Emily leaned forward eagerly. "So you can arrest him?" Harris shook his head. "Not yet. This is evidence, but not proof. We need something recent, something that ties him personally to the crimes." I clenched my jaw. "And how do we get that?" Harris gave me a long look. You get close enough to catch him red-handed," Emily gasped. "That's too dangerous." But deep inside, I knew Harris was right. Men like Marcus covered their tracks well, but arrogance always left cracks. And if Marcus believed he already had us cornered, he wouldn't be careful. That night, back at home, I laid out the plan. Emily was reluctant, her fear written all over her face. "Dad, if you go after him directly, he could kill you." I took her hand. "Emily, I don't want to fight this war, but Marcus brought it to our doorstep. If we don't take the risk, he wins. And we lose everything, not just the house, but our dignity. She swallowed hard, tears shining in her eyes, but finally nodded. Then we do it together. The first step was gathering intel. Emily created a fake social media profile and joined groups connected to Marcus's businesses. It didn't take long before she noticed a pattern: mentions of private parties at one of his clubs, gatherings where deals were made away from the public eye. "This is it," she whispered, showing me her laptop screen. "He'll be there tomorrow night." I stared at the glowing monitor, a mix of fear and determination coursing through me. Tomorrow night, Marcus Hale would let his guard down. Tomorrow night, I'd step into the lion's den. Emily squeezed my hand. "Dad, promise me one thing." "What?" I asked softly. "That you'll come back." I didn't answer right away, because promises, once broken, hurt worse than lies. Instead, I kissed her forehead and said, "I'll do everything I can." As I lay in bed that night, staring at the ceiling, I realized something. This fight wasn't just about Marcus anymore. The night of the party came faster than I expected. My hands trembled as I adjusted the collar of my jacket in the mirror. It wasn't nerves about how I looked. It was the knowledge that one wrong move could end everything. Emily hovered by the doorway, biting her lip. "Dad, you don't have to do this." "We could walk away, start fresh somewhere else." I shook my head. "Running doesn't erase men like Marcus. They'll follow, they'll find us. Tonight I end this." Her eyes filled with tears, but she didn't argue further. She handed me a small recording device disguised as a pen. "Just make sure you get him talking." The drive to Marcus's club felt endless, each red light like a warning, each passing car a shadow of doubt. But when I pulled into the parking lot, I forced those fears down. This was it. Inside, the atmosphere was electric. Music thumped, glasses clinked, laughter echoed. But beneath the glamour was something darker. Men in suits whispered in corners. Briefcases exchanged hands, and bodyguards scanned the room like hawks. And then I saw him. Marcus Hale. Dressed in his usual tailored arrogance, he stood surrounded by sycophants, his glass raised high as if he owned the very air people breathed. I approached carefully, trying not to draw attention. When his eyes landed on me, he smirked. Well, if it isn't Collins. Didn't expect to see you here. Couldn't stay away from the big leagues, huh?" I forced a thin smile. "Just thought I'd see how the other half lives." He chuckled, but his gaze sharpened. "You've got guts walking in here." Maybe too much. For the next hour I stayed close, blending into conversations, laughing at jokes I didn't understand. All the while the pen recorder sat in my pocket, capturing every word. Finally, opportunity struck. Marcus pulled me aside, his breath heavy with alcohol. "You know, Collins, I almost respect you. Most people would have folded by now, but you keep standing. Shame it won't matter when I take your house and your daughter." Rage burned in my chest, but I kept my voice steady. "You really think you can get away with all this?" He leaned in, his lips curling into a cruel smile. "Get away with it. I built this city on lies and broken men. I own half the council, the cops, the banks. Nobody touches me." Click. Every word etched into the recorder. I forced a laugh. Sounds like a confession. He didn't even flinch, too drunk on power to notice. "Confession? Collins, this isn't a confession, it's a victory speech. And by the time you realize it, you'll be out on the street begging for scraps. That was all I needed. Proof, direct, undeniable." My heart pounded so hard I thought the recorder would pick it up. But just as I turned to leave, Marcus's eyes narrowed. "Wait, why are you smiling?" My blood ran cold. He stepped closer, suspicion dawning in his gaze. "You've got something on you, don't you?" "What is it, a wire? A camera?" Two bodyguards closed in, their massive hands reaching. Panic surged through me. If they found the recorder, everything would be over. Me, Emily, all of it. I shoved past one guard, sprinting toward the back exit. Shouts erupted, glass shattered, and the music cut off. My legs burned as I pushed through the crowd. The sound of footsteps thundered behind me. Bursting through the back door into the cold night, I didn't stop. My truck was parked across the street, and every second between me and those keys felt like eternity. "Get him!" Marcus roared from the doorway. I fumbled with the keys, hands shaking as the guards closed in. Finally, the engine roared to life, and I slammed the accelerator. Tires screeched, headlights cut through the dark, and I sped away with Marcus's voice echoing behind me. I had the proof. But now Marcus knew I was coming for him. and that made me more dangerous than ever. By the time I reached home, my chest was heaving and sweat soaked through my shirt. Emily rushed to the door, panic flashing in her eyes. "Dad, what happened?" I slammed the door shut behind me, locking it tight. My hands shook as I pulled the pen recorder from my pocket and placed it on the table. "We got him," Emily gasped. "You mean—" I nodded, pressing play. Marcus's arrogant voice filled the room. "I built this city on lies and broken men. I own half the council, the cops, the banks. Nobody touches me." Her eyes widened with disbelief. "This is it. This is everything." For a moment, relief washed over me, but it didn't last. Outside, headlights swept across the windows. Engines rumbled. I pulled the curtain back just enough to see several black SUVs pulling up to the house. Emily's breath caught. "He's here." I grabbed her hand, pulling her toward the back. "We don't fight him here. We fight him where he can't hide, where the truth will burn through his lies." Minutes later, we were racing through empty streets, Marcus's men chasing us like wolves. But instead of fear, adrenaline surged through me. I wasn't running to escape. I was running toward the courthouse. Detective Harris was waiting out front when we screeched to a stop. "Collins, you've got guts showing up here with him on your tail," he said grimly. I thrust the recorder into his hands. "This is everything. Get it into the right ears before Marcus silences us." No sooner had I spoken than Marcus's SUVs skidded into the parking lot. He stepped out, fury burning in his eyes, flanked by his bodyguards. "You think a toy recorder will stop me?" he snarled. I stepped forward, shielding Emily behind me. "No, Marcus, but the truth will." Police lights blazed to life around the courthouse. Dozens of officers emerged from the shadows, guns drawn. Harris raised the recorder high. "We've got your confession, Hale. It's over." For the first time, Marcus's confidence cracked. His smirk faltered. His eyes darted between the cops, the flashing lights, and me. "You set me up," he spat, venom dripping from his voice. I squared my shoulders. "No, you set yourself up. Your arrogance did the rest." The bodyguards hesitated, then slowly raised their hands as officers swarmed them. Marcus fought, screaming threats, but the cuffs clicked shut around his wrists. Emily clung to me, trembling but smiling through her tears. "Dad, we did it." For the first time in years, I felt a weight lift from my chest. The house, the debts, the fear. It all seemed small compared to the victory of standing tall, of showing my daughter that even in the darkest nights, courage can bring dawn. As Marcus was shoved into the back of a police car, he locked eyes with me one last time. "This isn't over, Collins," he shouted, his voice cracking with rage. I met his glare with calm defiance. "Yes, Marcus, it is." The cars pulled away, their sirens fading into the night. The silence that followed was heavy, but it wasn't fear anymore, it was peace. Emily leaned her head against my shoulder. "You were right, Dad. Power isn't about the size of the enemy. It's about the size of the fight in you." I smiled, wrapping an arm around her. "And you, Emily, proved you've got more fight than anyone I've ever known." For the first time in weeks, I breathed freely. Marcus Hale was gone, his empire crumbling. And those scars would remain, we had won, not just against him, but against the fear that had haunted us for so long. If you were in my place, facing a man like Marcus who thought he was untouchable, what would you have done? Would you have risked everything to gather proof or walked away in fear? This story proves one thing. No matter how powerful someone seems, arrogance always leaves cracks and courage can break through them. But remember, standing up to evil always comes with a price. Now I want to hear from you. Do you think Marcus's punishment was enough, or should men like him face something even harsher? Share your thoughts in the comments below. I'll be reading every single one, and if this story gripped you, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell, because more shocking and emotional stories are coming your way. Your support means everything. It keeps this channel alive and helps us bring you tales that keep you on the edge of your seat. Stay strong, stay aware, and remember, truth always finds a way out.